The first step to setting up your opt-in funnel is always going to be creating a new form. So let's head into Websites and Funnels, and let's navigate over to the forms. You'll see here that we have already created some template forms for you that you can just duplicate. I highly recommend duplicating it because sometimes we need to do updates to these ones, and it also allows you to have a clean version for every opt-in that you have. So click on the three dots here and then duplicate. And then I'm going to just move that back to the root folder so that it's not sitting in the templates folder. To do that, click on the three dots again and say move to folder, move to root folder. Just remember that you can always pause this tutorial as I'm going along as well if I'm going too fast for you. Now click on the example opt-in form that I've just created, and here is where you can customize the form. You'll see that this one does have a shadow to it. If you're wanting to remove the shadow, you click on the Styles and Options button and over on Advanced, and I'm going to turn off the border, and I'm also going to zero out the shadow, and you'll see that removes it altogether. Of course, you can also customize any of these labels that you've got in here. If you're not wanting to collect a last name, you can also remove that. If you're wanting to add in additional form fields, this is where you can add them in here. And of course, link in your privacy policy, and if you don't need the terms of service on there, you can remove that one. So then we'll say save. This form has a transparent background, so this means that we can overlay it either on your externally hosted website or on a funnel page. In this tutorial, I'm going to be using a funnel page, but if you were placing this onto your external website, you would come back into this form and say integrate, choose inline, and then say get embed code, and use a HTML code block on your website to then paste this code in here. Don't forget also, if you're wanting to be notified when someone does download, you can set up those notifications in here. However, if you're expecting a large amount of people to be downloading your opt-in, it's not necessary and probably will just clutter up your inbox, so you don't need to do that. Otherwise, we're heading back out into the main website and funnels section and going to be creating a funnel page. Again, we've created templates here, so go ahead and duplicate the template that you're wanting. They have the different styles of the current website templates. If you have chosen one of those, you can align it with that. Don't forget that you can also customize every single one of these. So even though it may look like a style that is not aligned to your branding at the moment, a simple change of colors, fonts, and images can make a huge impact. So it's more the layout that you're looking for at this stage. And now I will choose the opt-in funnel, and I'm going to duplicate it first. In this case, it's called clone. And of course, rename it to your funnel name. And again, I'm just going to move it back to the main folder to keep it clean. Great, so let's head into the funnel now, and you'll see that we have already set up the two funnel steps for you, being the recipe book opt-in and the confirmation page. So the first one to edit is this opt-in page. And navigate down to the second section where it has the form in here and choose the correct form that we just added. So it'll automatically come up with the example one here. And now you can see that that form that I just edited is placed inside the page. From here, you can go through and customize any of the copywriting that's in here. The copywriting that I've placed in is called swipe copy. So you can just replace these sections that are in the brackets if you're wanting to, or you can write whole new copywriting if that's what you want to do. I've tried to make it as easy as possible for you, having laid it out how I recommend strategy-wise to lay out a opt-in page. But of course, if you're wanting to delete any of the sections, if you're hovering over it and it's turning green, then you can delete that entire section. Or if you're wanting to replace a photo, if it's coming up orange as the photo, then that means you can click in here and change the photo this way. And sometimes the photo is set as a background of a column as well. And the difference being is that if you have an image block here, the size of the block will automatically go to the size of the image file that you uploaded. So if this was a portrait shape, it would be coming in all the way down. But because the image is set as a square when I made it, that image is a square in here. Whereas if it's set as a column background, if I move my screen in and out, it will adjust to the column width. So you can see that move here. So sometimes an image is set as a background like this, and sometimes it's set as an actual image block. Of course, go through and check these buttons as you go. They should already be preset to head up to the sign up section. So it'll scroll back up to where that form is, but always making sure that you're checking it. You can also check the mobile layout mode. I've already done all the hard work of checking the margins and paddings throughout here for you though, so that should all be okay unless you've made your own. When it comes to funnel pages, if you have your website within Alvea and you have a menu saved as a global menu, For funnels, because technically they are seen kind of like a separate website, any of the links that are within that menu, you need to set them up so that it has the full www.domain name/about or whatever it is, rather than just linking it to the about. So your funnel navigations will be the website navigations. To learn more about that, head to the tutorial specifically about that, but just keep that in mind that this heading navigation will need to be slightly different to the ones that you have on your website if your website is within our layer. Okay, so now we've finished setting up the funnel page. Let's head back out. And the next step in the process is your confirmation page. So this is the page that will show up as they fill in the form. It'll go to the thank you page. I think it's a really good idea to have this one so that they're not just left standing there on the page kind of thing, but also to clarify to check their junk mail for the opt-in, and that you may also be back in their inbox in the next couple of days with some more handy tips. And if you have a sale offer, you can obviously add this in here as well as the confirmation page. Next, we configure the settings for the opt-in pages. So head into the funnel. There's 3 areas that have settings. The first I'm going to go over is the main funnel settings. So on the far right-hand side here, click settings. And here is where you can change out the name of the step or page if you need to, and the URL path. So this is the link that you're going to be either adding to your main website, or if you have an external website, you can use this to add it into a button on your external website or menu navigation. So go ahead and change the path here. Here is where you can connect in the domain name as well. From an earlier tutorial, I explained how to add a funnel domain name. So if you haven't watched that one yet, you can go back and do that now. If not, select the domain name that you created for your funnel pages. The favicon URL, you're able to actually go into your media storage and upload a favicon into your account. So say if I was wanting this to be my favicon, I would click on the 3 dots here and say get link, and then head back to the funnel and paste that link into the favicon URL field. If you're wanting to check any Google Analytics, you can add a heading tracking code in here. Otherwise, we do have the events tab here, which I'll go over in a second. And just go through and check any of these settings if you're wanting to turn them on or off. If you do want a chat widget, you can do that here as well, and press save. Now we can move to the events tab. So if you do want to track any Facebook pixel events, this is where you can add them in here. And I'll just quickly go through the other settings that we have on our funnels. This is the statistics, where you can see how many page views there were, how many opt-ins, sales, and earnings per page. If you did make any sales through your funnel, they'll be listed in here. Security is not something that you need to worry about at this stage. It's more for developers. The other areas that you can change the settings are in the actual funnel steps. Now you click on the step that you're wanting to change and head into publishing. You can change the step name here. And then you can create a unique URL for this as well. This isn't necessarily the one that's going to be seen, so it doesn't need to be too unique. But if you just want to change it from what the template is, this is where you would do it here. If you're selling something on your opt-in page, you'd first need to add it in as a product. First add it as a product through here, and then follow each of the steps. And then as long as you add this in as a product here in your actual funnel page, if you use an order form element on the funnel page, that's how it knows what product to deliver. So then you can also customize the confirmation page if you're wanting to change the URL slug here, head over to publish and change the slug in there as well. If you were wanting to change from an opt-in to a sales funnel, you could have the opt-in as the first step, which then flows into the second step being a sales page. So if that's the case, then you just add a new page here. You can duplicate or take from this first page, and you can move these up and down to change the order in which they are as well. One setting that I want you to make sure that you checked is what the next step is once they submit the form. So there's 2 areas where you can check this. First, click on the form, and here it says redirection. It says go to next step. So make sure that that is go to next step, which means it will go to the confirmation page. If you say use action from the form builder, I'll just show you what that looks like here. In the settings section of the form builder, this would be the next step here. So it would just show up with this part here looking like this. So within a funnel page, if you're creating an opt-in from it, we do want it to go to the next step. So we say go to next step. The next settings that you'll need to customize is the SEO settings. This is what shows up in the search results if your funnel is searchable through Google. So click on SEO and AI search optimization and fill in the content, which is a title. And I recommend between 50 to 60 characters for the title in total. And then the description is between 150 and 160 characters, making sure that you're keeping keywords and phrases in there that you think your ideal client will use to actually find your product and how you can help them. Keywords you can add in here again for the same reason. Be sure to add your author name in. Images, so this is what's called a social sharing image. If you want a specific image to show up when you share the link on Facebook or Instagram, once you pop that in, it'll show an example of it up here. But basically create a square image with the main content through the middle part of that square image, because depending on what device they're looking at, it looks different on different social medias. So create that in Canva and upload it into here. And then you can add in some custom meta tags and links here as well. If you're not sure what that means, please head to the help article that is in the knowledge base. Then we repeat the same thing on the confirmation page, so you can flick over to the confirmation page still within the builder here and do the same thing over with the SEO content. And from there, that's your primary settings all done. And once you publish, again, just being sure that everything looks correct on the front end of things, and that's the main setup for your funnel done. Next, we're going to set up the automation that will deliver your opt-in. So head into automation workflows. And again, I've already got a template here for you, nurture email workflows, and duplicate this one so you've always got a clean version. Rename it and click on the title to enter it. First step here is to set the trigger as a form submitted. So again, we want to filter so that when that form that we just set up is filled in, it automatically triggers this workflow. So you can see here I did form is, and then example opt-in form, and that's now set as the trigger. If you're wanting to create a tag that is maybe specific to the topic of the opt-in, whether it's fertility or gut health, you can set it so that it adds this tag in here, or multiple tags even. So then you can do focused and targeted email campaigning to those opt-in tags. The first email that's sent out, again, I've created some easy swipe copy for you, but you're welcome to go ahead and replace all of these if that's what you want to do. Otherwise, click on the three dots and say Edit Design. Customize the colors, the copywriting, the images that you have in here, maybe even create a little mock-up of your opt-in file if you've got it. I always recommend, if it's a PDF download, hosting the opt-in on your Google Drive or some kind of cloud storage, and then adding the link into the button. And the reason why you do that is because some email platforms can mark your email as junk or spam if it has attachment. And it also loads a lot faster if you just have the link to the freebie opt-in. So make sure you're doing it as view only, so then they can just download it from your cloud. I know that does feel like one more extra step for your audience. However, it can significantly impact the deliverability if it is an attached item. So I highly suggest doing that. So yep, thank them for downloading, say what the benefits are, a little bit about yourself, customize your footer here as well. If you haven't saved one as a global already, you can create it here and then save it as a global so that you're not having to recreate it on every one of these emails. You can also come in here and click on the three dots and say settings and change the subject and preview text in here. Otherwise, if I say save and exit out, you would be changing the from name, the email, the subject, and pre-header in these parts here. You can track the clicks. If they clicked on that button, you can track that. Keep in mind that if you say sync edits to template, it'll change the template that you have in your system. So I usually just say turn that off in this case and just track clicks or add tags if an action is taken. You can also test the email, send it to yourself to make sure it looks okay on both ends. Next, we have a setup where it waits a day. You can actually change this to 2 days if you want to. I recommend touching points with them either every day or every other day for the first week, and then that way they get to recognize your name coming into the inbox. If your opt-in was the first time that they've seen you on social media and they get the one email and then hear from you for 3 months until you do your next newsletter, then they may not recognize who you are. Whereas with the nurture series, if you're coming in here and contacting them every day or every other day, they'll get to at least know your name, even if they're not following the actions that you've actually placed in the emails. The next email here is purposely set up to make it look like it's a personalized email sent directly from your inbox to theirs. So that's why it's not as pretty as the other one. Of course, you can change it over to the other stylized email template if that's what you want. But the swipe copy in here is kind of like having a conversation with them, how are they going and where are they up to in their journey. So it's up to you whether you want to keep this or not, or add in or duplicate this one here. If you're ever wanting to duplicate, click on the three dots here and say copy action, and you can just copy it in and replace it in here if that's what you're wanting to do. Again, we have another wait and a few more types of emails that I've put in here. The quick win that they can do to achieve their next step, and then a sort of like a testimonial dream client story that you've got for your experience. And then the last one says to add tag newsletter. And the reason why that I do this is so that when you're doing your newsletter campaigns, and if you do a blast out, you're sending it to this tag here and not the tags that are within this workflow or this opt-in workflow. And that's so that they don't, if they're on like say day 3 of this workflow and then you decide to send out an email campaign or email blast, they're not possibly getting an email 5 minutes apart. So that's why I say add the newsletter tag to your general audience once they're being removed from these workflows here. From here, it's always a great idea to test everything from start to finish. So publishing your funnel page or going to the page where you've added it on your external website and filling in the form and just testing that workflow. If you're wanting to test it all in one day, you can change the time of those wait times that's in between. Instead of saying wait 1 day, you can say wait 1 minute and just check that each one of those are flowing through. And then obviously coming back in here and changing it back to 1 or 2 days that you had it at. So just to recap, the first step is to make your form and then either put that form on a opt-in page on your current external website or create a page in your Alveo website, or if you're wanting a funnel page, you can do that like I showed you just here. Step 2 is customizing the funnel page if you're doing it in Alveo, and then step 3 is setting up the automation here. And of course, step 4 is testing it all. So I hope that's a really helpful overview from start to finish for you, and well done on taking the next step to grow your audience and having more impact online.